Hello guys and welcome to another track guide video, and today we got Trial Mountain in Group 4, and this one is with this GR Supra race car from 2019, and we need to use the racing medium tires. So I did a fairly decent job. I finished I think in the top 10 when I was recording this lap, so I hope it's gonna be okay. So without further ado, let's get going. And let's get going with the guide, guys. And just one more thing before we start: just try to carry as much speed as you possibly can out of the last corner. Just try to take like a wider line just to carry a little bit more speed on the straight. And this one is where I start turning. So basically when I passed this point, I slowly started turning in, not too harsh, otherwise the car is going to understeer. Lift off, there is no braking involved in this one, and just a little lift before this next one. So it's kind of difficult to figure out what is the best possible line, but I always like to take a little bit of this curb, a little bit more than usual, and it proved out to be more consistent. So yeah, it looks like to be okay. Here, just before the entry into the tunnel, there is a curb on the right, and just before the end of that curb, you start braking. But also try to make sure that you stay kind of closer to that curb on the left, but not very close to it. I mean, you need to be close, but not to really touch it. And something like this in here, and you can see I'm using the rock on the left just as a marker right here. Downshifting into second and quickly upshifting into third. And this is where I made that mistake. So you want to take a bit of this curb, but not too much. Otherwise the car will slide like it was actually sliding at this point. And now we're once again looking at the end of the curb. Just a little tap on the brakes, maybe 30-40%. I just got about the 50. It was okay. But if you touch this curb, just make sure that you lift off and wait for, let's say, half a second. Until this point, we're once again 20-30%. It's hard to find a good reference, but as you enter the tunnel, I would say it's a good time to start turning in, and fourth gear is a must on the way out. So it's kind of a harsh corner. I just try to rely on trail braking, a little bit of trail braking and rotation of the car. So that's why I'm using brake and balance too. So here, I mean, you can see the sign. So basically, when I pass the sign and between the sign and the tree, but just make sure that you brake in the straight line with a little bit of turning, maybe 5 degrees. Otherwise, if you turn in too quickly here, the car will snap and you will lose the back end. So a little bit of turning and braking. So the car won't lose performance on braking, but you will still get a good line through that corner. So here, this is kind of a tough one. This is kind of where I rely on a lot of things, especially curbs. Second gear, and as you start approaching this curb, I put a bit of power down just to stabilize the car over the curb, and it's third gear on the way out. So the car can slide if you start putting the power down too soon. So just make sure that you put in a little bit of power and then full power. So here, just as you get to the, let's say, the bottom of this this hill, so basically just second gear, a little bit of this curb, you don't really want to take the yellow line. I kind of did, so I had to lift. So it's not the best idea to just touch the yellow one. So I like to kind of get more on this, let's say, normal curb or whatever you want to call it. But into the last one, that's the sign on the right. There is actually just a reference on the right. Downshifting into first and then quickly upshifting into second, and you can put the power down. The car is stable. It might slide, but you need to correct it if you really want a good time. Upshifting into third, and just make sure when you pass this point, you need to be flat out. So the car can carry all of that speed onto the straight, and you can get the best amount of acceleration and of course the best top speed to the straight. So I hope it was kind of okay. Let's say 57.3. It's a, let's say it's a decent time. It got me to the top 10 on the world leaderboard. So I hope it's gonna help you. And if you think this was useful, you can always hit the like button. You can even subscribe, or if you want to support me in any kind of way, you can just become a member on the channel. So guys, I really hope that you enjoyed, and until the next time, bye.